Welcome to the All Hoops Podcast. I'm your host, Steven Min, and I'm joined by my star producer and co-host, Chris Brito. We're heading into a crucial Game 6 for all four NBA second-round playoff series, and we have a great weekend of basketball ahead. Before we get to all that, Chris, my friend, how are you?
Hey Stevie, happy to be here on the All Hoops podcast once again. Our Knicks are still in it. We need to win Game 6 in Miami to extend the series and have a Game 7 at MSG. I mean, the crowd was so great last night, Wednesday night, when the Knicks played them for Game 5. And I thought there were a lot of signs to me optimistic. I think the effort needs to be there. I thought Randall played a lot better than he has in the other games. But to me, the bright spots were four guys on the Knicks: Grimes and Brunson, who played all 45 minutes.
48.
Sorry, 48 minutes. 48 minutes of the game. You had RJ Barrett, who continues to play excellent in the playoffs, and really Mitchell Robinson. Like there was a point in that game where they were doing hack a Mitch, and hack a Mitch hit more free throws while they were doing hack a Mitch than they did when he was being fouled the rest of the game. Or at least a more efficient percentage. And there are a lot of things that the Knicks did that give me a reason to be hopeful. And moving forward to Game 6, I feel good. I can't say I feel super confident because it's still Miami, but I like our chances, and I think it's what it's all about. Like, if nothing else, the Knicks showed up at MSG, played one of their best games of the season, and we live to fight another day.
Yeah, I mean, they did what they needed to do to keep the series alive. I give them a ton of credit for that. And obviously, I said it before the show, like broadcasts that are showing the Knicks next year are going to mention the Brunson, Quentin Grimes 48 minutes each in this do or die game. I think they're not going to win in Miami. I think this thing is kind of over. I'm disappointed to say that, but I just think they've had no answers in Miami. They've been down double digits basically the entire two games they were there. You look at what happened in this game, and it's very simple. The Heat threes just stopped going in. That's it's as simple as that. They were 13 of 43 from three. That's 30%. They were killing it from three in every other game, but Kyle Lowry, 2 of 8. You know, uh, Kevin Love, 0 of 7. Gabe Vincent, 0 of 3. Like those guys are going to be most likely better at home in the next game because they've been just killing it every game in the series. And I would think 4 out of 80% of their games they've been hitting their threes. I would think that's going to be the same in Game 6. Granted, they were not a good shooting team in the regular season. Maybe this is more who they are, what we saw in Game 5 than we saw in the first 4 games. So I give the Knicks a chance, but I think the Heat are going to come back home and they're going to start hitting their shots again, where I think they're going to take this thing in 6.
Yeah, I mean, for a lot of the reasons you said, and I think we could also like flip that on the Knicks too. Um, the Knicks shots weren't going in, and I think last night was Wednesday night was the first night where I felt like the Knicks were in complete control of their offense, which I don't think I've been able to say that really for any of the games,
Yeah.
except maybe the final 4 minutes of game 2, and then last night's entire game. I mean, most of three quarters of the game, because that first quarter was a disaster. Um, so
I would say, to give them credit real quick, we've been screaming about it in text and probably in our show last week. They have to find a way to break up the zone. They have to find a way to break up the zone. It took forever, but they did it. And what they do is you just make quick decisions in the zone, quick passes, quick shots, quick action. And we saw a lot of that from RJ Barrett. And I want to give him a ton of credit. Moved in transition, did not let the Heat set up their defense, got to the foul line. They got Kyle Lowry in foul trouble. He had 5 fouls, midway through the fourth, and they had to take him out for a bit where the Knicks were able to settle the game in. I thought he did a great job. I thought they did a great job of combating the zone by doing quick action.
yeah, and And I think really that's the key to being the Heat for the rest of the series. Like
Yeah.
it just seemed to me like the Heat had never had any answer for that. It
Yeah.
could, I mean, it could have just been like as easy as them, like as easy as them wanting to finish off things in Miami. But this is the Heat. I feel like they try every game.
They tried in this game. They almost came. They cut it to two. It was like a 17-point game. They cut it to two with like 3 minutes left in the game. So like this idea that like we had this great win. It was a great win, but it wasn't a deciding win. They got very fortunate, as you said, that Hackam Mitch made 4 of 6. That's literally how they won this game.
Yeah, that was one of the parts where I was like, oh my gosh, like this is kind of like it
I'm
went
shocked teams haven't been doing this last round. I'm surprised the Heat took till now to do it, and I'm more surprised that he hit 4 of 6.
I think that really speaks to like I don't know what it is. Like I don't know what to chalk it up to. Like, oh, maybe we should put Mitch in more pressure situations, or like we just got lucky this one time, this whole series.
I mean, granted, he missed his first two at the line before Hackam Mitch, so he was 4 of 8 on the day. He's a 50% shooter. And he went 50%. So it's not like pressure. It was just 6 free throws. He made 4.
So,
And I think if I'm Miami, I'd double down on that and I'd start doing it again
a
and
law of
just
averages.
let's see if we can get them out of, like, especially if the Knicks start getting on a roll. I would try, if I'm Miami, I'm gonna try to get them out of their rhythm, force Mitch to the free throw line, maybe extend my rotation a little bit. So I'm not worried about a Kyle Lowry or Jimmy Butler getting into foul trouble. It's a Haywood Highsmith or somebody like that who you can kind of expend a few fouls on. I don't know why we're telling the Heat advice. They're fine. But the bottom line is it's a punch counter punch series. The Knicks made adjustments to the Heat. How do the Heat now make an adjustment to those adjustments? And
Well,
that'll decide the series.
so that's the interesting part, right? Like, how do you make those adjustments against the Knicks? Like, okay, fine. Let's say they decide to do this quick offense, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what Heat really like the Heat really have that could counter that.
Well, I think it's what they were doing at the end of the game. It's, can we hack Mitch? Can we hack free throw shooters? We don't believe we'll make all their free throws. Get them out of their offensive sets running, especially when they're running, especially when Mitch has the ball, hack them. And I think that's what they're going to do, and just try to slow the game down where the Knicks need to speed the game up.
Hmm.
That's how I see it. But again, all these playoff series have all been decided by who's hitting threes. So
So now
it's
it's
about execution on your strategy. And the strategy needs to be hit some shots, Knicks. Let's go.
well, my only thing with the hack a Mitch thing is like I don't think that's something they're going to employ at the beginning, like in the first half. I think it's something that if the Heat are trailing again, late third or late or from the fourth, like it's something we're definitely going to see. You're not going to waste those fouls with Bam, you know?
That's why I'm saying if you open up the rotation and you play, let's say, 10 guys, you're not really worried about foul trouble with Haywood Highsmith or some of these other guys who are not really going to be playing down the stretch in the fourth quarter. Cody Zeller, you know, I think they can make it work.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see. I think the Knicks can like at least make it interesting.
It was also really quick last thing. It was also really nice to not have Kevin Love beat you again. Like, he was not good in this game. 2 of 10 shooting, 0 of 7 from three. He only played 16 minutes.
And
It
Kyle
seems
Lowry
like the
too.
Knicks. I mean, Lowry was in foul trouble at least. Like, that's why he didn't play. I mean, he still played 30 minutes and had 5 assists. But Love was just a no-show in this game, and I think it's really nice to not let a 40-year-old Kevin Love beat you. So good job by the Knicks finally figuring that one out.
I mean, we were due. I think part of the reason why I was like happy is that finally like we were due. Like whether it was ref calls, whether it was shots going in. But really it kind of chalks up to the Knicks just like having more crisper execution last night. Like
Exactly.
they just did what they were supposed to do. They didn't turn over the ball as much, or at least it didn't feel like it. And I thought that was big. I think You can't make those mistakes against the Miami Heat, like unnecessary mistakes.
Agreed.
Yeah.
All right, Chris, let's move on to the other series. Which one would you like to start with?
I want to talk about Philly Boston just because uh I think it's funny to me that Celtics fans are sort of like gun ho about the Celtics team, but they've won in Philly before. They lost a pivotal game 5 and they lost game 6 bad. No, they lost a pivotal game 4 and they lost game 5 at home.
Yeah.
But there's no reason to think that the Celtics can't pull this off. Like, what is Harden going to have another good game, or is he going to disappear? Is Embiid going to play as well as he can, or is he going to have an injury? Like, I think those are the other things to consider with this team. To me, the biggest X factor, though, of this whole game is Tyrese Maxey. I think if Tyrese Maxey has a great game, there's no chance that the Celtics win.
I think the first quarter is going to be pivotal in this game. If Boston can say, we're going to give the ball to Jaylen Brown, we're going to give the ball to Jason Tatum, we're going to let them shoot as much as they can, we're going to get it off to an early lead and take the crowd out of this game, I think they're going to have a great chance to not just win game 6, but win game 7 at home in Boston. Whereas if I'm Philly, that first quarter, just getting the crowd involved, trying to give energy to, as you just described, basically 3 X factors, right? Embiid, his health, his aggressiveness, Harden, his health, his aggressiveness, and then Tyrese Maxey, who can give you 8 or 30. I think getting that crowd involved is going to really help push those guys to the finish line here. So that first quarter to me, I think is just crucial.
Oh, I mean, completely. Like, I think in order for the Celtics to survive, and this is like really where the coaching stuff sort of matters. Like, has Joe Mazzulla seen enough where this team could like make the appropriate adjustments early on? And like, the jury is out on Joe Mazzulla. I feel like there's a trial on him like every game after they lose. And to a certain extent, he does deserve that sort of scrutiny. But at the same time, it's like the Celtics put him there. So really, I also have a prediction, I think. And let me know if you disagree. Um, I think if the Celtics are eliminated Thursday night, or even if they're eliminated at game 7, I think the Celtics will try to hire somebody with more experience.
See, I think they're all in on Missoula. They gave him a contract extension in February, so I don't think they're going to erase that decision now. Granted, whether they win or lose, I think they agree and we agree they need to upgrade this coaching staff. I think they need to do a better job of finding people with experience. You know, we talk about, oh, like you lost Udoka. You also lost Will Hardy, who was kind of the heart and soul of that coaching staff. He's now with the Jazz. Everyone's raving about the job he did there. They had Damon Stoudemire, who was one of their lead assistants. He was a guy with a lot of coaching experience. He leaves for college. So it's not one coach. It's really 3 coaches they've lost and didn't replace. So now you have the least experienced guy on that staff, Joe Mazzulla, taking over. Whether he deserves it or not, that's not my call. I don't know, but I do know that he needs help on that bench, especially offensively, where it seems at random where Marcus Smart is just taking the biggest shots of the season. And you look at the spray charts and like who's taking what shots. Marcus Smart's averaging about 13 shots a game. You don't think that's crazy, but he's basically taking the same amount of shots as Brown and Tatum combined when you get down to crunch time. In not just this postseason, the last few. So when they go down the stretch, it's not really Tatum making a play or Brown making a play. It's a random offense where Marcus is just in the right place at the right time, and he's the one taking these big shots. And he's not a great shooter. And so I think they just need more cohesion on the offensive end. And that's why Celtic fans get so upset about the timeout thing. Oh, why isn't he calling a timeout? Because when you don't call the timeout, it really just Tatum takes too long to get the ball in. It's Marcus Smart being left wide open and taking the shot that you don't really want him to take with the game on the line. We've seen that time and time again, not just this week, but in the
Yeah.
last postseasons.
And one more thing to add on that, the part that sort of like would make me upset if I were a Celtics fan. It's like Joe, you've tried this so many times already. It does not work. And if the best shot you can get is a Tatum like step back three or like a two, whatever it is, like you can get that after a timeout anyway. So it's
Right.
not like I know the idea is like, okay, you want to set your defense, but there was that game against the Knicks that they lost where they couldn't figure out who's gonna shoot it or didn't get a shot out. There was that
Well,
game, there was that game, I don't know, I feel like I've seen countless situations like that where the Celtics just don't execute properly. And like that falls on the coach. Like
yeah.
it's fine if you don't want to call a timeout because of the defenses aren't set, but it's not working. So do something different.
Yeah, no, that's what we were saying about Thibodeau too. Like whether it's the right play or the wrong play, it's not working. Try something different. And even just saying, here's what we're trying to do. If Philly stops this play, then you could do the weird isolation, Marcus Smart, shot. It's just a plan is needed. And I thought this series really so far has come down to game 4, where Philly was up big, Boston came back, and then they have the ball either to win it or go to overtime. And they just did not get into their set quick. And then
Mhm.
they just missed a shot by rushing it. And then same thing in overtime. They have a chance to win the game in OT, and they don't call the timeout both times. And then Marcus Smart is the one wide open for the shot. He makes the shot, but it's after the buzzer because they just didn't get into their set quick enough. And
Was
so I
that
think
smart?
that's all on the coaching.
Was that smart? Oh, that was
Yeah, it
smart.
was Smart. Yeah. But again, why is Mark? I mean, he made the shot. So you don't really want to criticize, but why is he the one always taking these shots? And I think part of it is because he's fearless. And the other part is because the coaching staff is not really given direction. And if I'm Marcus Smart and I feel confident the way I do,
Yeah.
it's weird to me for him to come out and say our offense is too random. Like he came out and said that, and he's the one kind of benefiting from this chaos where he's the one taking these big shots, and he's still the one saying, "Hey, we need more structure here." And I think that's going to be a big point of emphasis for Boston in Game 6, and I'm really excited to see how that one plays out.
Yeah. Um, yeah, for the record, I think Boston wins um Thursday night.
I'm going to
So
say Philly wins.
let's move on. Philly Denver has been pretty exciting. I think they had one of the best games of the whole playoffs earlier this week on Sunday. Um, I think they're going to extend this. I know, I know, somebody in this chat really feels strongly about the Nuggets winning the championship.
Yeah,
I think Philly does. I mean, not Philly. I think Phoenix wins this Thursday night, and I think they get a game 7 out of this. I mean, the script writers are going to want a game 7.
I just think this Denver offense has looked just unstoppable for 2 straight rounds. They've not looked bad in any way. And I think their firepower has not been shown that it could be stopped. And so for Phoenix, who has gotten incredible performances out of Devin Booker, how much longer can you expect him to shoot 80% in the series and average, 40 points a game? Because if he doesn't do that tonight or Thursday night, it's over. And I think it's just you're asking too much out of this guy. I think Denver's going to keep with their offense, which is moving the ball. They can get their 50 out of Jokic if they need it. If not, they can get their 25, 12, and 12. And other guys can step up and hit shots. And, you saw Porter Jr. step up and hit shots. You saw Murray hit shots. My guy, Christian Brown, is looking like a real weapon on defense. He's the one guarding Kevin Durant on a lot of these things. He had a big steal and a dunk where Durant said, I'm getting out of the way. I'm not getting posterized by this rookie. And so I think Denver's just the better team. While a game 7, I think, is possible, I do believe Denver takes this thing and it moves on to the next round.
You know what's so funny? I think for all the game sixes, you've said that they're all gonna end. Except, well, we haven't gone to the Lakers Warriors yet, but
Yeah, we'll
uh
get there. So let's do that one now. So
yeah, yeah.
uh, obviously, Golden State takes care of business in Game 5. You saw a rejuvenated Jordan Poole in this game, which is something that I think was good to see because he looked pretty dejected on the bench. He's got his like hood on. He looks like he does not want to be there at all. He's missing every shot. He's not playing any defense, and he looked better. And when you have other guys helping Steph Curry, that means the Lakers can't double him. And you see Steph doing his dance. He's firing up threes. He's doing all this on isolations, one-on-ones.
He's amazing.
He's amazing. And I think they're going to be able to get those contributions from the role players again. And I think Golden State is going to force a game 7 on the
They're
road.
they're also like they're like zombies, right? Like the Warriors just find a way to
It is
win
really hard to kill a champion.
so freaking hard, dude. Like I feel like it's like you have to make sure they're dead. And like granted, the Lakers really weren't in it in the second half, but the Warriors just had an answer. Um, but in terms of moving forward in the series, like you need Anthony Davis to okay. And like he got hit by Looney last night. And I don't know, man. It looked like it looked pretty bad. The injury itself in the moment didn't feel that bad, but like the way Anthony Davis was reacting to it, it almost looked like he had a concussion. He had to be wheeled off. And I don't know. I think for someone like him, if you don't have him in the rest of the series, it's gonna be really tough to beat the Warriors.
And if you don't have them at 100%, it's going to be really hard to beat the Warriors because the Warriors have had really no answer of how to combat Davis. Like he can kind of just do whatever he wants. We like Kevon Looney, but he's no Anthony Davis. And so if Davis is playing at 70%, he's not moving up and down the floor like he has earlier in the series. I think Golden State's going to win this thing easily.
Should we put a bet on that?
We could.
All right, we'll talk about it after.
Well, let's see where Davis's status is before we do that. But last question here with all 4 of these series, who needs to win? Which player needs to win this round most? And if you're thinking, I can go first.
To me, it's tough because you can make an argument for almost any of these people, but to me, I think it's Embiid slash or Harden. And I'll tell you why. Because who's to say that Embiid's gonna have a clean bill of health next year? James Harden's probably not gonna be back. Who knows if James Harden's even gonna be this far in the playoffs ever again? If he's rumored to go to Houston. So I think those two guys probably have the most on the line.
Yeah, I was going to say Harden. I think obviously with Embiid as well, but Embiid is still young. Embiid's coming off his best year ever. I think it's realistic to think Embiid can be just as good next year, whereas Harden, he's older. Who knows if he's going to be in Philly? He might be on a 38-win Rocket team next year. We don't really know what's going to happen there. I think if Harden leaves, they're going to bring in a Lillard, a Beal, a Harden replacement to team up with Embiid. So I'm more worried for James's sake, where he's been so close to the finals the last few years and just wilts in that big time pressure. And I just think he's had 2 incredible games in this series, and I think it's something that he needs one more.
Yeah, he does. And I think if you want to be in the conversation as one of the best shooting guards in NBA history, I think you need that. At least that conference appearance without KD and Russ to like really make a make a make a stronger case for your resume to be up there.
Absolutely. All right, Chris, let's get to our final thoughts right after this. All right, Chris, final thoughts time here. All NBAs announced. Not too many surprises here. Randall made the 3rd team. Jalen Brunson did not. I think the most significant one for contracts is Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum both made All NBA, which means they're eligible for a combined $613 million over 5 years on their new contracts starting after the 2024 season. With the cap going crazy, it's going to be really interesting to see how this all plays out.
Yeah, and I think Jaylen Brown sort of getting that big money, right? I think that really like cements his status as going to be as someone who's going to be with the Celtics for the remainder of that second contract. That being said, like I feel like he would have been a nice fit for a lot of teams, like Knicks being one of them. But at least we can move forward thinking like we don't have to like pretend like he's gonna come or there's gonna be an imaginary trade that's gonna make a difference. Like it is what it is.
For sure. And that's going to do it for us here on the All
Oh,
Who's
wait,
podcast.
don't forget do you want to talk about Giannis?
I don't think there's really anything to talk about. The Knicks are always eyeing superstars. We get it. He's kind of vulnerable to want to trade after this disaster, but I think he's staying in Milwaukee. I don't think there's anything to discuss.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. I mean I think he'd be such an amazing fit, but
The superstars are always an amazing fit, but that's going to do it for us here on the All Hoops podcast. Chris, I thank you. I thank our viewers on YouTube, our listeners on Spotify, and we'll be back next week to discuss the wrap up of the second round and the NBA conference finals.
bye everyone.